will improve Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's popularity in the eyes of our enemies. We now continue with 9/11 Commission member John Lehman, and former CIA operative Gary Burnstein is with us. And we're going to go to our studio audience, 9/11 responders. And by the way, people who have lost family members on 9/11, we'll start with you. You were in this setup piece we had.
Yeah, I was in the tower. I was in Tower 1 prior to the second plane coming in. At that point, we weren't sure if we were under attack or whether it was an accident. When the second plane hit, Chief Burns in the fire department, 40-year chief in the fire department, and I were ordered to Tower 2. In that walk, the Chief Burns and I talked about we were at war. We knew we were at war. It was common sense, and I don't understand why now there's a question of that. Chief Burns died that day. I was lucky enough to get out. We talked about that. It's one of the last things he talked about before he died, that we were at war.
Yeah, well, and you know what? He was right then, and the war continues. Debra Burlingame is here with us, and your brother. You might want to tell everybody about your brother.
My brother was Charles Chick Burlingame. He was the captain of American Airlines 77, which was hijacked and crashed at the Pentagon, and all on board, obviously, and 125 people inside the Pentagon. I do have a question for Mr. Bernstein. On November 18th, our Attorney General testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he was asked if Osama bin Laden were captured tomorrow, would we turn him over to an attorney, Mirandize him and read him his rights and set him up with his lawyer, let him lawyer up, or would we interrogate him? He couldn't answer that question, and finally when pushed said we don't need to interrogate him. We have all the evidence we need to convict him. I'd like you to react to that. If we don't interrogate Osama bin Laden, is that a dumb thing, and what can we lose by not doing that?
It would be a foolish thing not to interrogate him, because he is very likely to know if he has in motion plans for catastrophic attacks on the U.S. Of course we'd want to interrogate him, because he would be the person planning those things or would be knowledgeable about them. Of course, during the war in 2001, my orders were to kill him immediately at that point because of the nature of the conflict, and we had so few of us and there were so many of them. But now, we want to interrogate him.
Secretary?
You know, this is such a perfect example of this legal frame of mind, this legalistic frame of mind that was one of the causes of 9/11. The director of CIA told me during our investigation that he was not allowed to see any of the intelligence. This is the director of the CIA and the president of the United States were not allowed to see any of the intelligence gathered in the investigation to prosecute Sheikh after the '93 attack, because the Justice Department, just as the Attorney General just said, we have enough to convict. We don't want to pollute any of the evidence. It's all looking in the rearview mirror. All they care about is getting a conviction so that they can brag they got a conviction. And as a result, for 5 years while that process went on, this valuable pattern that was really the relationships of what we now know to be Al-Qaeda was kept by the Justice Department from the director of CIA and from the president, so that it would not affect or endanger their ability to get a conviction. Right. This is crazy.
All right, we got one quick question here. Sorry.
Secretary Lehman, as a member of the 9/11 Commission, are you disappointed to see how little progress our country has made in enacting the recommendations that your commission recommended? Case in point, we all know those 19 hijackers hid in plain sight. They were able to secure driver's licenses. 6 of them were registered to vote. We're almost fully 10 years to the September 11th event. We're approaching the 9th anniversary and then the 10th anniversary after that, obviously. Those recommendations are still being debated. Can you comment on that?
We have about 30 seconds, Mr. Secretary.
It's a mixed picture. We've got some things done. We've got broader spectrum so that the police can talk to the firemen, the first responders. The McCain bill got passed. We've got legislation that has begun the process of sharing. But it just is infuriating to all of us on the commission to see the lessons of history that we illustrated so I think effectively in the 9/11 report, ignored by this administration, ignored as if they never happened. And those who ignore the lessons of history are doomed to repeat them.
What a frightening admission. Mr. Secretary, good to see you. Thank you. And thanks. Good to see you again, Gary. Thank you. And coming up, the father of one 9/11 victim says that President Obama lied to him during a meeting at the White House. Those details and more from the families and first responders coming up next on the special edition of Hannity.